in Dallas, not really. But even that experience, however chaotic or short-lived, caught everyone's attention. Every night became an event when Rodman was in town. He made arenas sell out, turned every game into a spectacle, and left teammates shaking their heads, wondering how someone so unpredictable could still be so reliable when the real battle started. The secret, according to teammates, was simple. Rodman wanted it more than anybody else. He once told a young John Sally that rebounding was about hunger. "See all those big guys?" he'd ask. "They're all bigger than me, but they don't want it like I do." Rodman promised to pass Sally the ball every time he got a rebound, and he kept his word. He rarely shot after grabbing offensive boards, always looking to give his teammates easy dunks or layups. On paper, that humility showed up as stat lines you'd never see from superstars. 0 points, 18 rebounds, or 40 boards across 2 games, but barely scoring. He didn't play for highlights. He played for wins and for the quiet satisfaction of making life hell for the other team. The rest of his routines were just as unconventional. Rodman baffled coaches and teammates alike, but those closest to him recognized a logic within his chaos. David Robinson, who played alongside the Worm on the Spurs, eventually learned to love the madman next to him. Robinson called Rodman Superman because he just never seemed to get tired, running from tip-off to final buzzer like he was powered by some hidden engine. Robinson knew he always had a warrior with him. Even if off the court, Rodman did things a little differently. In the locker room, he was a loner. On the court, he was irreplaceable. Michael Jordan, the greatest competitor the game has ever seen, tells a story that probably says it best. During Bulls practices, Coach Phil Jackson would subject the players to brutal endurance drills. Jordan's group always tried to pace themselves, finding ways to coast and conserve. The second Rodman jumped to the front, though, he didn't jog. He sprinted, cranking up the tempo so high it took the rest of the team 4 laps just to catch him. To Dennis, everything on the court was a test of stamina, of will, of whether anyone could possibly outlast him. The answer was almost always no. But that spirit didn't turn off when he left the gym. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the biggest NBA personalities of all time, still marvels at Rodman's routine, or lack of one. While most pros stuck to a strict schedule, Rodman did things his way. Sometimes he'd roll in less than an hour before the game, still eating chicken and rice, ignoring meetings and strategy sessions. Then he'd go out, pull down 20 or 25 rebounds, and afterward, instead of celebrating or sulking, he'd put in another workout or vanish into the night, always finding new ways to shock, entertain, or confuse those around him. On nights off, his legend only grew larger. Fellow party kings like Reggie Miller remember standing inside Chicago clubs, watching Rodman seemingly command entire bars, pulling stunts and convincing crowds to follow his every move. Surrounded by models, police officers, musicians, and fans, Rodman would act like nothing fazed him, leading group shots and wild after parties. But within hours, he'd be back on the court, ready to chase down the league's toughest rebounders and hand-check the biggest stars. It's easy to think the wild child image was all there was. But beneath the tattoos and piercings, Dennis Rodman was, secretly, one of basketball's most intelligent players. His IQ was unshakable. He made reads that other players couldn't even see. Teammates like Steve Kerr sing his praises for exactly that, saying most people couldn't understand how someone so eccentric, so unconventional, could make such perfect defensive rotations, anticipate plays, tip balls to keep possessions alive, and break down the best scorers in the league. Rodman never needed to score. He transformed the sport by making hustle and defense as valuable as a game-winning shot. He'd spark a game with a tip, an extra rebound, a deflection, or just by drawing charges that took opposing stars out of their rhythm. Coaches were forced to build special scouting reports just for him. But coaches adapted, trusting that the results mattered more than the journey. Phil Jackson, perhaps the only coach who ever truly understood Rodman, once sent teammates to Atlantic City with him in hopes of keeping him connected. So Steve Kerr and Judd Buechler went along for one epic night of gambling and no sleep, watching Rodman on his own turf, then limped through practice in the morning, while Rodman somehow remained unfazed. The lesson? With Dennis, you had to play by his rules because nowhere else did the old rules apply. And then there's maybe the best evidence of Rodman's impact, the words of NBA legend Shawn Kemp.